Hi there and welcome back to The Potting Shed. Keep sending in your images and comments using the hashtag #ThePottingShed. In today's episode, I'm taking you through the basics of how and when to prune an apple tree, explaining what to look for when using bamboo for screening and sowing seeds in readiness for spring. Today's question looks at how and when to prune a Bramley apple tree. Pruning apple trees is one of those tasks that many people are so perplexed by that they often don't tackle the pruning for fear of getting it wrong. Winter is a good time to do formative pruning or shaping of apple trees, but you do need to know if your tree fruits on the tips of its branches or on what are called spurs. You can tell this by looking for its flowering buds. Flower buds which produce the fruits are bigger and plumper than leaf buds, and their position on the tree will determine its fruiting type. Once you know this, it is key to preserve as many of these flowering buds to produce this season's crop. Bramleys can be a bit awkward as they can be both tip and spur bearers, so just go steady and check each cut to ensure a bountiful harvest for all your crumble needs. Start pruning by reducing any straight vertical growth by a third and cleanly cut back to a bud before looking at taking out any dead, diseased and damaged wood. We call this the 3Ds. You want light to reach the centre of your tree to allow for improved fruit formation as well as air to flow to help reduce disease and improve vigour. If you prune apple trees too hard, they have a tendency to produce what are known as water shoots. These are rapid growing straight shoots that do not contain any useful flower buds and which can easily alter the shape of your tree. For larger pruning work, try to stagger it by giving another cut after fruit has formed and again in the following winter. In commercial orchards, pruning always takes place on a dry day, and after each cut they will often pass a lighter over the blade of their secateurs or saw to sterilise to avoid disease contamination. It is essential if you're pruning out diseased material that it is fully removed or burnt to stop its spread. So in this example here, what I have is this spur coming off and production of flower buds here and here. I have here kind of last year's growth which will just produce leaves, so this is less important. So here we'll have my fruit, and here I want to come back and reduce some of that plant's vigour to then promote these. So what I do is I find my closest shoot and clip and cut there, reduce some of this down to here to reduce this to where I have my fruit in clusters. As thoughts turn to our gardens, I've been asked about bamboo for screening, and specifically what type of bamboo is best for a suburban garden. Now, bamboo is great for screening and creates a wonderful green barrier, as well as adding a subtle, calming susurration to the surroundings. Its vertical stems or culms are a strong visual element to any garden. Now, many people worry about planting bamboo after horror stories of growing out of control and taking over borders and even breaking through concrete paths. It is true that some species and types do need the right situation to allow for them to spread their roots, and they can quickly outgrow their environment, but this does not mean that there aren't options to give you what you need. Now, bamboos are often informally grouped into spreaders and clumpers, and it is this latter group that you need to look at for this setting. Now, clumpers devote more energy into height than spread, so spacing will need to be considered here as well as positioning in order to provide the correct amount of screening for your needs. It is always tempting to plant them hard against the fence or boundary to be screened, but allow for at least a foot or 30 centimetres gap to allow for expansion over the years. Phyllostachys is one of the best groups to look at here, with a range of excellent cultivars such as this Oreo sulcata or the lovely black culms of Niagara. But be aware, they can grow up to 4 metres high, so make sure you're not going to upset your neighbours with where you plant it. For a slightly shorter screening, you could choose some of the Fargesia genus, which are less elegant but form a much thicker screen. All bamboos love a rich soil, in full sun or part shade, so make sure that your site suits their needs. If you're still concerned about their spreading roots, then you can always plant them in the ground in either a large pot or dig in some form of root barrier, such as strong plastic sheets around them. This week we're going to be looking at seed sowing. It's a perfect time of year now for doing your seeds, getting them germinating, thinking ahead to the wonderful spring and summer that we're going to have. If you're thinking about your veg, you need to start planning now. Think about what you want to sow, what you want to grow. If you're thinking about flowers, you need to be thinking about what time of year you need to start getting them started so you can start getting those into your pots and hanging baskets for that season. The most important thing we need to think about is where we're going to be sowing these seeds. If you're not lucky enough to have a greenhouse, then a windowsill will do. And you can sow your seeds in any suitable container. You can sow them in a simple pot that you've recycled from the year before. You can even sow them in this kind of tray, which comes from some meat which I've recycled, but it's always best to put some holes in the bottom for drainage. We're going to be using a standard half seed tray here, which is what we generally use here at the college for doing our seed sowing. It's a good depth. So when those seedlings develop, they've got plenty of room for some root development. Now these we reuse each and every year, so it's really important that we give them a good clean and a wash so we don't get any bacteria or fungal diseases infecting our plants. So I've given this a wash, given it a clean, and what we need to do now is get our compost. So the compost that we're going to use can be a seed sowing compost, which is generally finer. You can use a general purpose compost as well, but again with both types it's always a good idea to sieve them. And we sieve that compost to make sure that we've got a nice even structure that those seeds to go in to be able to develop and germinate well. So you can see that quite often you get large lumps coming out of that, and we need to remove those. So what we do is we put some compost in our soil sieve and we give it a good old jiggle. What we need to do is we need to make sure that we know what we're going to be sowing in our seed tray to know the depth of soil that we need to have in there. It's really important that we remember that the depth of the seed needs to be covered by enough compost that is twice the width of that seed. So if I've got a big seed of about 1 centimetre, there needs to be about a couple of centimetres of soil over the top. Okay, so it's really important to think about that size of the seed that we're going to be growing. Today I'm going to demonstrate 3 different types and 3 different methods of doing that so you can get a better idea about this. So I'm going to keep sieving until I've got this to the right level of the one that I'm going to do first. We've got that seed tray now filled to the level that we want, but that material is now nice and loose. So we need to jiggle our tray about, and what we have is this little tamping board. So we just press that down. We might just gently move material around, and we just gently press it down. So what I have is a flat surface which I'm going to sow my seeds onto. Now for this first one, I've got these lovely chili poblanos. So what I'm going to do is pour into my hand the seeds. Now that's quite a lot of seeds. You can see that they're quite easy to see, quite easy to handle. And what I will do with those, I'm going to give it about 1 inch between each plant. You don't have to put them in perfectly neat rows. But I like to do this because it's much easier, because you know how many you're sowing, you know exactly how many are spaced in your actual tray. Also, you know that if a line doesn't germinate, the seed is what we call not viable. So it may have been a little bit old, may have been hanging around for just a little bit longer. And you can see that what I'm doing is I'm staggering the line just to make that spacing relatively even. Doesn't matter if things aren't perfect, but what it does do is it just gives us a much better chance of making sure we know where each plant is. And as we get to the point where it's germinated, it's a lot easier for us to do what's called pricking out. Always make sure you put your seeds safely back. What you don't want is them going everywhere. It's really nice locally if you want to look at doing a seed swap when times allow us to, because it's really useful. In this packet I've got about 30 seeds. In here I've sown all of those. I don't need these seeds again this year, and quite often it's good to get fresh seed each and every year. So go to a seed swap, kind of swap seeds with other people, they'll get this and you can get something in return. It's a really useful and a nice community thing to do. So I've sown those seeds. What I need to do is give it a nice covering of compost. So again, I sieve over that. I can, if I want to, use what's called vermiculite, which is this material here. And this creates a really nice, this is expanded volcanic rock, and this gives us a really nice clean surface, which holds the moisture next to the actual seeds and produces a really nice covering for them. You can use compost, it's absolutely fine, but sometimes with seeds like this, I like to give them just that little bit of extra love and attention. And so we're going to use this vermiculite over that surface. So I'm going to make it relatively kind of thick, making sure it's the same depth all the way around, about twice the thickness of that seed. Top it up around as you go. This has no nutrients in it, so it's an inert material. It just helps to hold the moisture next to those seeds. So I tamp that down, and what I have there is a nice, neat seed tray. And it's essential that we give that seed tray a little label, write on the name of that plant and the date that you sown it. That's essential because obviously some seeds take a little bit of time to germinate, and that's to grow. And if I've got the date on it and it's past about a month's time, that seed is not going to grow, or the conditions aren't right for it. So it's a useful guide to see whether or not your seeds have germinated. You can put your seeds in water to begin with to see if they do germinate before sowing them, but it does make it a little bit trickier. This is the general way in which we do it. So write your label, stick that in, and then give it a good water. So we've sown a medium-sized seed, and we're going to look at how we sow finer seed this time. Now, I collected these foxglove seeds last year. And you can see in here that they're absolutely tiny, which makes them very hard to be able to see, and it also makes it very hard to carefully sow them. So you're not going to be able to sow these in straight lines. Now I could put them in my palm and then sprinkle them, but because they're so fine, any breath of air can actually then blow them out. So a useful thing to do is get a folded piece of paper, preferably kind of blank, empty that into there, and then very carefully tap and sprinkle them liberally over the entire area. You don't need to use all of them up. You want to make sure that they're covering the whole area, not too many. I can just about make them out, so that's enough. Always save your seed, as I say. Don't ever kind of use it all up if you don't need to. So that's a way in which we can do finer seed. Now, because it's finer, it's smaller, it doesn't need so much of a covering over it. You don't want to swamp it, so only going to put a light amount of compost over the surface of that. If you think naturally, they'll just fall on the ground in nature and they'll be absolutely fine. So again, just tamp that down, okay, down again, and again what we'll do, provide a label for it, put the date on it, and give it a good water. So we're going to look at how we sow larger seeds now. Now it is important that we don't have to use seed trays, and what we're going to look at here is what we call a cell pack, and this pack contains 12 individual parts within the whole tray. It's a really useful way to avoid root disturbance by putting in a larger seed in each of these pods or cells here. And we're going to be doing this with peas. So peas are fantastic, really great thing to sow in a little modular seed tray or cell pack like this. Really, really handy as well, because a lot of the peas don't like root disturbance, and because they produce quite long roots, it's really good to be able to just plonk those plants once they've germinated straight into the location that I'm going to have them. Now you can put one pea in each of those, absolutely fine, but quite often we put two, because if one doesn't develop, then at least the other one should, so it doubles our chances. So what I do is I carefully put them onto the surface like this, middle for diddle, each there. As I say, you don't have to use two, you can just use one. If they're fresh seed, you've got it from the garden centre fairly recently, then they should be absolutely fine. You could use one in each. But peas and their shoots, obviously you can eat the shoots. So if one kind of develops and one doesn't, you can kind of decide which one's going to live and which one's going to die. So what I'll do is just gently press those down about a fingernail's depth into there. So make sure they're down. It's a good idea to keep these covered as well, because if you have them in a greenhouse that's open to the elements, what you can often find is little mice at this time of year smell these and they dig them up and they chow down on them. So it's really important to make sure that they're covered with some wire or something. So this is a nice simple way in which we can ensure that our larger seeds have less root disturbance, and with that we can just make sure once they're growing we can pop them out of them and put them into the location that they need to go in. So hopefully that's demystified the process of seed sowing for you. Always check your packet for the right time of year to sow your seeds first. Seeds like it moist, seeds like it warm, but remember, whatever the conditions, they'll grow probably without that much intervention. So go on, give it a try, just give them a water. Thanks for joining us in the potting shed. If you have any questions, drop me a line at chrislambertgardening@gmail.com. And remember to send us your images using the hashtag #thepottingshed. And don't forget, you can still watch Series 1 on the Reading Fringe Festival website at readingfringefestival.co.uk.